I'm Lieutenant Colonel V.A. Banjo, BSc, Director of Electrical and Mechanical Engineering, Nigerian Army, Federal Prison Ikot-Ekpene, 1st June 1966, to Major General J.T. Aguiyi Ironsi, MVO, Supreme Commander of the Armed Forces and Head of the National Military Government. Now, this is going to be a very long read. My dear General, thank you for your letter of the 14th February. This will be my last letter to you while I remain in detention. I wrote to you from Kirikiri prisons on the 21st and 31st January 1966, and your letter to me of the 14th February in reply referred to my petition being under consideration. I am not aware of having written a petition to you. I wrote to you as my general, my leader, and as my fellow officer in arms, as one from whom I should expect justice, fairness, and loyalty, in the like measure as any of my fellow officers may expect to receive it from you, in the like measure as I have had the honor to give you, my colleagues, and my soldiers during my years of service, and in the like measure as is obligatory between gentlemen officers of a responsible army to maintain the highest traditions of our profession. I informed you that a grievous crime had been committed against my person and my liberty at a time of crisis in our country when I was busy giving you my most loyal service. I pointed out certain facts to you which I felt you ought to have known about. Essentially, these were: A, that on the morning of Monday, 17th January 1966, guys, the coup was on the 15th. Ironsi became Oga on the 16th. This man was arrested on the 17th. Ajekela no omokuloni. Tanu mo pe ajetokela lo pa omoje. Okay. A, that on the morning of Monday, 17th January 1966, I was arrested by Lieutenant Colonel G.T. Kurubo and Major P.A. Anwuna in the anteroom of the IGP's office for no ostensible reason while I was waiting to see you. B, that during the period of my close arrest, I had been shamefully mishandled by soldiers in the presence of my arrestors at Federal Guard, that I had subsequently been confined in the guard room of 2nd Battalion NA Ikeja, in the ward room of Naval Base Apapa, and in the defaulter cell on board HMS Nigeria in turn. That's on the ship. I need hardly point out that this act was in itself illegal and a flagrant disregard of Army regulations covering the manner of close arrest of any officer of my rank. C, that I had since then been detained at federal prisons at Kirikiri and lately at Aba and at Ikot-Ekpene for no reason whatsoever. D, that some 2 weeks after my arrest, I was informed by Major C. Ude at Kirikiri prisons that a signal had been sent out to all units that I had been arrested for attempting the life of the Supreme Commander, which signal, if existent, must by its gross falsehood constitute a serious offense in law against its originator. You don't have to guess the officers doing all of this work. That subsequent to my arrest, one of my officers, Major E.O. Aganya, commanding base workshop Yaba, was invited to your headquarters and arrested on 18th January 1966 for no reason at all. I believe he is still in detention. F, that the driver of my Land Rover and the 5 soldiers who were my personal guard on the morning of Monday, 17th January 1966 were also arrested, brutally beaten at Federal Guard for some days, and subsequently detained at Kirikiri prisons. I believe they are still in detention, and all this for no apparent reason whatsoever. G, that prior to my arrest, I had spent a considerable time with you in the attempt to persuade you that in order to save Nigeria from the awful event of a civil war, the army should take over government under yourself. H, that further, during this period, I had by word and deed rallied support for yourself and a military takeover of government among a large number of officers all over Nigeria. I, that I was present at the meeting of senior officers of the army with yourself at noon on Sunday, 16th January, at which I spoke first and spoke for a military government under yourself. Number 3, in the face of these facts, and as a lieutenant colonel under your command, it was my place to expect certain actions from you, such as: A, an immediate investigation of the facts of my arrest and that of my officer and soldiers. B, the immediate release of myself, my officer, and my soldiers as soon as the facts are proved to have been false. C, the immediate arrest of the officers responsible for my arrest, and their subsequent trial on charges of false arrest of an officer and bearing false evidence against a fellow officer. Number 4. No one holds rank and authority in any army by divine right. The relationships of rank and authority in armies are based on law and a definite set of rules and regulations, which predetermine the rights and responsibilities at each rank. It is also based on ageless traditions of honor, integrity, and loyalty, which is expected in reciprocal forms from all ranks. There is no provision either in an organized state or in an organized army for a relaxation of these principles, for on it rests your command, your stability, and your safety, as otherwise there is little to prevent any two officers backed with weapons from arresting any of your officers tomorrow, even your military governors or even yourself. In this issue, my general, I beg to submit that you can only have one clear duty: to protect the law, the traditions of the army, and the rights of every soldier and officer who has entrusted his life into your hands. Number 5. It is now 4.5 months since I was so treacherously arrested, and since then you have continued to see it fit and just to keep me detained. If I, my family, and my friends have been loath to raise issues on this matter in public, listen to this part though. If I, my family, and my friends have been loath to raise issues on this matter in public, it has not been out of fear or out of lack of adequate belief in my innocence. It has been out of consideration for you and a disinclination to embarrass you at this time. It has been out of a deep sense of responsibility in the issues now facing the country and a desire not to aggravate it. It has been out of faith and belief in the loyalty of yourself and those of my colleagues who still remain honest to the traditions of our army. So far, I have counseled patience even in the face of the worldwide publicity given to my supposed attempt and death, which in itself, so they said that they don't buy, which in itself was an act of treachery, which must have emanated from someone in your office. For this, however, the world press and radio owes me an accounting for which I proceed to exact payment as soon as I am free to do so. This guy is bold. The world press and radio owes me an accounting for which I will proceed to exact payment as soon as I am free to do so. Out of a firm conviction in that justice is done, I have been disposed to wait silently in detention, patient for long enough to seem reasonable and fair to you by the world. If I still continue to remain in prison, the shame is not mine, but irrespective of what happens to me, by virtue of the inevitability of truth, the world will someday ask you to clear yourself of any involvement in this act of treachery. Number 6. I am grateful for the arrangements you have made to enable my wife to visit me here on the 14th of May 1966. She informs me that she visited you on the 5th of May 1966 to inquire about my crime, and that you informed her that you knew nothing about my arrest until after it had been carried out. You informed her that you knew nothing about my arrest until after it had been carried out, that then you have found it necessary to keep me ahead. This is the other part I was mentioning the other day. That then you have found it necessary to keep me in detention to protect my life in view of the rumors. What rumors? That he was dead. There were rumors that Victor Banjo was dead even while he was alive in prison. And so, Ironsi wants Tai, that's his wife, to believe that they're keeping him there to protect him. I believe you, but then, as I pointed out before, the word conscience is less trusting. It will ask you to vindicate yourself. It will want to know how it is possible that one of your most senior officers, who was spending his time and energy loyally assisting you to restore order in the country, was treacherously arrested within 20 feet of you and falsely accused of trying to take your life, and all this was done without your knowledge or approval. It will want to know how it happened that the main perpetrators of this crime were suddenly elevated after my arrest. Remember what we said the other day, that 18 Igbo officers were elevated. By the way, all the people that were arresting all these people, Igbos, all of them. Three months after the coup, 18 Igbo officers were promoted. They now look for 3 northern officers to add to it. May not be like saying only Igbo, making 21. But in those 3 northern officers that they promoted, they took them above 5 Yoruba officers. There was no other promotion for Yoruba people until about a couple of months later, and even then, Igbos were still promoted. By the time the dust settled, they had about 120, but it's about 100, between 120 to 200% in terms of increase. Like the number of Igbo officers that were now in the army. So the guys who initiated the arrest and got Victor Banjo in prison were promoted almost immediately. All of them Igbos. But then again, it's because that's when you hear things like, you know, it's not about the coup, it was just something that happened, it quelled the coup, it's a lie. Even Victor Banjo, the title of this series, I think it's going to be like 1 or 2 sessions will be done, is Victor Banjo Caught in the Storm. It was a storm of Ironsi's making. It was, and respectfully, it was a storm of Igbo making. And I'm not just talking about the officers. And but when we say Igbo here, we're not talking about the people. We're not saying Igbo people decided to organize something against Guinea. You have to understand the fact that if the leadership of a people, the civilian leadership and their military guys organize something to benefit their people, there is no way we're going to call it a Hausa coup. Do you understand? It's not Igbo, and it's important for me to mention it here because people can get the wrong message. I don't say these words because I'm trying to attack an ethnic group. Oh, it's Igbo group because it's an Igbo coup. It's an Igbo coup because Igbo people did this. That's not the point. The Northern Counter Coup that happened in July 1966 did not happen because the North told all the officers, "Oh, yeah, go and do it for us." No. So let's go back to that. I'm still reading the letter that Victor Banjo wrote to Aguiyi Ironsi on 1st of June 1966. So he said that he was keeping him in prison for his own protection. Then he says, "I believe you. But then, as I pointed out before, the world conscience is less trusting. It will ask you to vindicate yourself. It will want to know how it is possible that one of your most senior officers, who was spending his time and energy loyally assisting you to restore order into the country, was treacherously arrested within 20 feet of you and falsely accused of trying to take your life, and all this was done without your knowledge or approval." Of course he knew about it. Are we joking? It will want to know how it happened that the main perpetrators of this crime were suddenly elevated after my arrest. The one, Lieutenant Colonel G.T. Kurubo, appointed commander of the Air Force and a Supreme Counselor, and the other, Major P.A. Anwuna, promoted substantive Lieutenant Colonel. The skeptic might unkindly be disposed to feel that they were being recompensed for some good deed. The world will want to know what has been done and what is being done to see that justice is done, irrespective of what happens to me. Number 7. My wife further tells me that some of my colleagues have been kind enough to call to congratulate her on the fact of my name having been cleared. I was not aware that my name was in need of being cleared. However, I am grateful for the efforts spared to clear it, of whatever it is that needs clearing, and I hope the privilege has been extended to all the senior army officers who had the honor of assisting you to preserve the country during the crisis. Number 8. I am glad to know that you and my colleagues are succeeding in restoring the nation onto an even keel, in spite of the great difficulties. I am proud of your efforts and of belonging to the service that is accepting so much responsibility. I am also proud to have contributed some small part to starting off the national military government. My greatest regret amongst others at this moment is that I am denied the opportunity of serving my country during one of its moments of great need in my lifetime, as a result of the efforts of a few unworthy officers. I hope that success continues to attend your efforts. History abounds of numerous examples of military coups, some of which have brought in their train hardship, loss of freedom, injustices, assassinations, bloodshed, and chaos as a result of the rapacity, jealousy, and unbridled ambition of a few army officers. Others have brought stability, prosperity, justice, and real freedoms as a result of the wisdom, dedication, honesty, and the discipline of its army officers. It is an inevitable law of nature that the former pattern always only succeeds in destroying itself eventually. After so many years of callous betrayals, After so many years of callous betrayal by its leaders, I believe that Nigeria deserves stability for a change. Yours very sincerely, Lieutenant Colonel V.A. Banjo.